Okay, so just to let you know that we are recording it for future dissemination. So Aníbal, please.
Okay, this is the starting of the webinar on European Aviation Regulation for aerial robots. We try to first introduce the topic group organizing this activity to go immediately to the details of the regulations, and then we can have a discussion. So essentially, I can introduce the topic group, and then Antidio will go to the details. So you know that the organizer of this webinar is the Aerial Robotics Topic Group. So the idea of this topic group is to promote the European aerial robotics community, and very important to exchange experiences between the different actors. This field that we still think that is growing a lot. So we have two main parts of the scope. One is dealing with methods and technologies, which means there is a collection of methods and technologies here. You can identify more details or add more. That means that new, safe, and efficient aerial robotics is always important. We always have this field, this new field of aerial manipulation, but real-time 3D perception and localization, there is a hot topic with many people interested in these activities. Then the control and planning of trajectories is also very relevant, and navigation in complex environments takes more and more attention. So that means that these are topics that are related with the research, but also with the innovation. Applications, okay, here you can have a long list, but typically we have in the topic group the transportation and logistics, the inspection and maintenance, very hot topics, but also we have surveillance and agriculture, which is always relevant, and also others. Others means a variety of new applications, including indoor application, manufacturing applications, long list. But we are not going to detail. We're just saying that for both, excluding the indoor, that means the scope in the research and development and also in the application, excluding the indoor, you need to know the European Aviation Regulation. And then it is important, obviously, for the market and then for the application, but also for the research. Next, please. Next slide. So you should know that we are organizing every forum, robotics forum, European Robotics Forum, a workshop. And we are always discussing about new workshops. So if you are interested in some of the particular topics, let us know, because we can also consider these topics for the new workshop. We have been considering implicitly or explicitly the regulation. In some cases, we can have also explicitly. So we, for example, in 2019, we considered the aerial robotic technology and applications with the new European regulations. But in other cases, we also have, but we consider implicit. Next, please. Well, relevant webinars are this case. And also, it is interesting for you to know that we are supporting other workshops. What means that we are supporting well-known societies, workshops like IEEE, but also more local workshops and conferences. And if you organize activities, please let us know that we can also support and disseminate. So if you are involved in new activities, let us know. Also, a new topic that we are not new, but we want to reinforce the competitions. So we are supporting competitions. Of course, they have particular communities, but we are also supporting this. So saying that, I think that it is time just to consider or to repeat that the new regulation is important for both research, but also the application, of course. So Antidio, you can provide the details.
Thank you, Aníbal, for the introduction. So this is going to be a dense presentation. We will send it later on. So because also there are a number of useful links. Okay. Okay. So trying to today we're going to focus only on aviation-related regulation. Of course, in order to fly an aerial robot, you need to take into account other kind of regulations, privacy, environmental, and so on. So from the point of view of the European Aviation Regulation, or in general, the International Aviation Regulation, aerial robots are considered unmanned aircraft systems or aircraft. Okay. The two main sets of regulation that apply to aviation and UAVs are the EU Regulation 2019-947 and 2019-945, okay, which set up the framework for the safe operation of civil drones, the European skies. And then we have also 2021, 664, 665, and 666, which are related to US space, that we will comment later what US space. And EASA is a European Aviation Safety Agency, in collaboration with the National Aviation Authority, is the entity that is in charge of developing and updating this regulation. Okay. So, okay, the European regulation categorize the operation in three different categories. This is a operation-centered regulation, and it also takes into account a risk-based approach that needs, it means that it has to be proportional. So at the end, what they want to achieve is that the overall risk is always the same, but depending on the mitigations and other means, you can't not only all the I would say all the risk is on the aircraft itself. It could be mitigated by other means. So let's go to a little bit into details. They have three categories. They have all the UAVs operation are under these three categories. They have the open category, which is for low risk, and it has some limitation that we'll go later. We have the certified category, which is on the other side, which is a high risk operation, very high risk operations. And we have the specific category, which is everything that is not open or certified, which is has a gray scale, and we will comment later. Okay. But this is important to know that the overall risk of the operation is maintained, is low. But for example, you in the open category, you have some very strict limitations where you can fly, how far you can fly, and things like that. So maybe the aircraft is not very robust, but if you apply the safety level of the aircraft, which is not very robust, plus the safety level of that there are not people around and things like that, the overall risk is the same as in the certified category. That's the idea. So in a certified aircraft, you can fly almost anywhere. In the open category, you have some important limitation where you can fly. Okay, let's go a little bit into detail. Before going to the detail, there are some important points to be remarked. In this European regulation, there is not a distinction between professional and leisure activities. Apply the same regulation. There is no distinction between experimental and aerial works. So R&D flight has to fulfill the same kind of regulation. And all this aviation regulation that we're going to talk today, as Aníbal mentioned, does not apply to indoor flights. For indoor flight, you have to apply maybe some health or safety of the area you have to fly, but not this aviation regulation. You don't have to fulfill this aviation regulation. Okay. So for the open category, this is limited to aircraft that are below 25 kilo. Okay. It cannot carry dangerous goods. Okay. No autonomous operations. Okay. It has to be a pilot, and the aircraft has to be in the visual line of sight. You have to see the aircraft at any time, and no more than 120 meters height. Okay. These are the mains. So if you are flying with an aircraft below 25 kilo, and we will see later the details of this, in a visual line of sight and below 120 meters, you may be in the open category, okay? And we will see what that means. What does mean, first of all, let's clarify what does mean below 120 meters. It's 120 meters from the ground. So if there are always changes on the ground, you have to maintain at maximum the 120 meters, okay? And also the regulation takes into account that maybe there are some obstacles or there are some infrastructures that you would like to inspect that is even higher this 120 meters. So you can go above it, no more than 15 meters, upon request of the obstacle or the infrastructure. Okay. Then this open category, there are three main subcategories. Depending if you are flying over people, close to people, as you can see here, or far from people, there are some restrictions. So if you are flying over people, the maximum takeoff weight is 900 grams. So it's not the 25 kilo that we mentioned before, only 900 grams. If you fly close to people, no more than 4 kilo. And if you fly far away from people, then you can go up to the 25 kilograms. Okay. And then you also have to fulfill a number of requirements related to the training, related to the electronic ID, and so on, and registering as well. It's important to point out that for all these categories, okay, for all these categories, you need what is called a CE mark drone. So what means that this product, this drone, has gone through a design and testing verification, okay, like your cell phone. When you have your cell phone, basically this cell phone has a CE mark. So it has been tested against some safety and also some electromagnetic things and a number of tests. So it's important that you know that to fly in all these subcategories, you need a CE mark. So what does it mean? That means that the manufacturer has to go to, we will see later, notified body and get support. It's a possibility to go to a notified body and go through this process of testing and design and verification of the design. And then you get a CE mark of your design. So it's a closed configuration. If you modify a CE mark, then it's not any longer a CE mark. You have to repeat the test. It's like if I take a cell phone and I change a chip, then this cell phone, okay, it's a experimental cell phone, but it's not this CE mark cell phone. Okay. What happens with R&D activities where you need to modify the aircraft or you are building your own aircraft and you would like to fly in the open category? Then, well, we will see later that you have a couple of options about that. But for this, you have to use to fly the drone as it is. In order to from the 1st of January of this year, only CE mark drones can be sold for the open category. Okay, so this is going to be mandatory. Or I don't know, it's going to change, but it's going to be mandatory. How can I CE mark a drone on an aerial robot? Well, there's a way to get in contact with a notified body. They can support you through the whole process. You have a company, drone company, you would like to get a CE mark, so you can sell the drones or the aerial robots for the operation in the open category, only for the open category. Then you are, my suggestion, if you don't have a lot of expertise or you don't want to get deep into that, is to contact a notified body. And this is the list of currently, from yesterday, already approved notified bodies in Europe. Okay, we have these 5. And you have here the link. And then for the prototypes, when you have to do research or you are changing things on your aircraft because you are designing a new aircraft, or you have to modify things in the aircraft and you cannot just buy a drone and fly as it is, the options are this privately built option. So you have this one, which is less than 250 grams, and this one, which is less than 25 kilo. Most of the people, they fly away from people. You fly in a rural area to do research in VLOS, when you can see the aircraft, and you get this option. So you don't need a CE mark UAV. So in the summary for the open category, this is a buy and fly concept. So there is no real interaction with the aviation authority. You buy the drone and you fly under this. There's some details, okay, but more or less this restriction that they mentioned: below no more than 120 meters. if it's more than 4 kilos far away from people in a rural area. And only this veloz operation. It's also important to check if you're going to fly in the open category with your air navigation service provider, National Aviation Authority, to check in their webpage, because usually some countries, they have some areas that they don't allow fly in the open category. So before flight, you should get this information. Also, usually this aviation authority, they have some online training, so you should perform this online training before start flying this open category. ISO will always below 120 meters, and the IMTO cannot be more than 25 kilo. Also, this, as we say, this is when you fly far away from people. If you fly close to people, then it's 4 kilo. If you fly over people, it's 900 grams. Here in this category, you cannot fly fully autonomous or not supervised operation, but always, if you are, for example, doing some R&D or some testing or whatever, or you just, or for you it's not a problem to have a person just looking, you can always have an autonomous functionality or autonomous operation with a supervising pilot that is just looking to the drone. So if something goes wrong, it can command a landing or something like that. If you are an industry, you have a company, you plan to commercialize a product in the open category, a drone, aerial robot, please take in mind that it's mandatory from next January that your aerial robot has to be CE mark, okay? And for the prototype, we have mainly two options. Below 250 grams, and we don't have, I would say, limitations to fly around people and things like that. And if it's more than 25 grams, then you have to fly far away from people. Okay, let's go now to the specific category. Okay, this gray area, what does it, what is a, how an operation is a specific category operation? Okay, please take into account that all kind of operation that you may imagine with a UAV has to be within these three parts. If it's not open, it's specific. If it's not open or specific, it's certified. Okay, so how do I know that is in the specific? Okay, so specific is you have to first check if your operation is not within the limits of the open category, then it could be within the specific category. Then we will see what is above a specific and what is considered certified. Okay, but here is a very large. We're talking about very far away, long distances, BVLOS, beyond visual line of sight, higher than 120 meters, more than 25 kilo. Autonomous operations also. This is the only category where autonomous operations are allowed. So it's a very, very broad. You can fly a one-ton aircraft in this category, or a 5 kilo aircraft in an urban environment in this category. Okay, so this is a very, very broad. Okay, let's here in the open category, we're going to, in the specific category, we're going to see it from 2 points of view. First, from the point of view of the UAV aerial robot operator. In the commercial aviation world, it's like Iberia, Lufthansa, Air France, the operator. Okay, how can I fly in the specific category? So there are three possibilities. You can fly submitting an operational declaration. Okay, but this is only allowed for two specific scenarios, two types of operations that we will comment later. You can also use it, submit and get operational authorization to your National Aviation Authority. Here, there is a large variety of operations, including fully autonomous operation. And here you have to perform a risk assessment using a methodology called SOLA that we will briefly comment later. And also we have what we call the PDRA, which are some kind of already approved scenarios that facilitates your work. We will see later. And the third option is to get an operator certificate. It's a look. This is optional for low and medium risk operation, but it's mandatory for high risk operation. We will see what is low, medium, and what is high. This is a certification given by the National Aviation Authority that grants an operator possibility to start operation in a specific category without the need to apply for an operational authorization process or to submit a declaration. okay? It's for a specific fleet of UAVs and for a specific type of operation, not for every operation. And it requires, among other requirements, to implement a safety management system, which has some important implication in your organization, procedures, and so on. Okay, first of all, the declaration, the operation declaration, the first one, which the most easy one. This is fast and easy. It's just a declaration. So how does it work? The operator fits, if the operation fits into one of the two standard scenarios that we will see later, and you have a CE mark drone, in this case, class C5 or C6, okay, then you just send a declaration. If you fulfill these two conditions, you send a declaration to the National Aviation Authority, not to the European one, to the national one, and then the National Aviation Authority confirms the completeness and the receipt of the declaration, and then you can start operating. So it is very fast and easy. However, you have to take into account that a declaration is a formal declaration. So you have to, it's not just signing, you have to fulfill all what is said in the declaration. You have to implement some procedures, a flight manual, and things like that. And the National Aviation Authority can audit you at any time to confirm that everything that was included in the declaration is performed properly. And this can only be used, this option, with CE mark drones, only with CE mark drone, and C5 or C6, no C0, C1, C2, C3, and C4, okay? Only C5 and C6. Not possible to use prototypes with this option, okay? It's not possible. It's better you need more information. It's better to go to the webpage of your National Aviation Authority and get information about what is called STS-01 and STA-02 to see how what are the steps to submit the declaration. What is the two standard scenario? The one is in an urban area, so you have a remote pilot aircraft, VLOS, only visual line of sight, on a ground control area. You have so not anybody, only people that are involved in the operation is below, and you need a C5 UAVs, okay, which these are the characteristics. Okay, you need a CE mark drone. For the STS-02, this is I would say VV-loss, but VV-loss very limited in rural areas. Again, not autonomous. The maximum VV loss is 1 kilometer if you don't have a visual survey, and if you have a visual survey, it could be 2 kilometers, up to 2 kilometers. You need a ground control area again, not so you control the area, so you have to ensure that no anybody around can go inside the operational area. So this is important. You have to fly below 120 meters, and you need a class C6 UAV. This is for the operational declaration. For the operational authorization, which is getting more complex operation, this is authorization. So it's not, the declaration was, I send everything, I say, trust me, I'm going to fulfill everything, and they say, it's complete, you can start flying, okay? With the operational authorization, it's different. You have to submit the documentation, they will revise it, and they will authorize you, and you cannot fly until you get an authorization. Okay, that is why authorization. This is a long process, usually take around 3, 4, even 6 months, depending on the complexity. So in order to do that, you have to define a CONOPS, your concept of operation, what is going to be your operation, and apply a risk assessment methodology called SORA, okay? If the operation has a low and medium risk, and we will see what this means later, then you can continue. If it's high risk operation, you need a look. We'll see later what is a look. You cannot do it under the operation authorization. The operator compiles all the required documentation, operational manual, justification of the safety objective, mitigations, characterization of the UAV, insurance, whatever, and maybe you need even information from the manufacturer, and you send all the documentation, the operator, to the National Aviation Authority. National Aviation Authority revise it. Maybe there's some interaction to clarify some aspects, include more evidence, and so on. And finally, the National Aviation Authority approved the operation. Okay, and send the operation authorization to the operator. And once you receive the operation authorization, you can start flying, not before. What is the SORA? So you say, okay, the starting process is you define your operation and you apply SORA. I'm not going to get into detail. You can have the current version of the SORA. This is, we'll need probably 1 hour just for the SORA, but it's a qualitative risk assessment for drone operations. Basically, very summarized, you evaluate first the ground risk, how big is the aircraft, depending on how big is the aircraft, if you are flying a rural area or an urban area, the risk after a crash for the people is bigger or smaller. You evaluate on the other side, the risk. I'm flying close to an airport. I'm flying control airspace. I'm flying below 120 meters. And then you have some numbers with the risk for the ground and the air. Then you combine the risk and you get an overall risk level of the operation, which is called a SAIL. And there are 6 levels from 1 to 6. Low risk is usually 1 and 2. Medium risk is SAIL 3, and high risk is 4, 5, and 6. So when we said before, if the operation is high risk, you need a look. It means that after the SORA, your risk of the operation is at least 4, 5, or 6. And then you need a look. Depending on the risk level, different requirements will apply. The greater the risk, more and more requirements will be imposed. Okay? And the operator needs to notify the National Aviation Authority how to comply with all these requirements, which are called OSOs. Okay? This is a complex methodology, a lot of options, requires certain experience to apply it, okay, and to develop the documentation required. And if you don't have experience, I think what is a guess is to contact consultancy company or entity from your country that can support you. No, because it's a complex methodology. Okay, they can support you with that. Okay. We mentioned before the PDRA, okay? Okay, the PDRA actually is a already cooked SORA. So it's the aviation authority for some operations that they are quite, they imagine or they think they are quite popular, okay? They already apply SORA. So they save you some time. If the operation fits one of these 5 PDRA, okay, you can have all the information in this link. Then instead of applying your SORA by yourself, you can just use the SORA that was approved by the EASA National Aviation Authority. And then you just have to go directly to the requirements. So you don't have to think how to apply SORA. So these first steps is already done. And you already have a list of requirements, very detailed requirements that you have to fulfill. And this facilitates the work of the operator. Okay. But PDRA is again operation authorization. The only thing is that helps you a little bit in the process, but it's operation authorization. It's not something different, okay? But part of the work has already been done by the aviation authorities. And the last option for the specific category from the point of view of the operator is to have a look. So this is the light UAS operator certificate. This is a long process in order to get it, you need a long process with the National Aviation Authority. The main requirement for the operator, you need to implement a safety management system, you need to implement procedures, to have organization, to have different stakeholders with different roles. You need to define the piloting competency, the training, the maintenance, the documentation system, a safety manual. I mean, this is you are getting like a light Iberia or Lufthansa, you are getting an operator. On the other hand, right now it's true that the details of the requirements, at least in space, not really fully defined. There's still not so much experience. There are not a lot of looks in Europe, okay? However, if you get it, you get a number of privileges. You can conduct operation without submitting a declaration of authorization. You can self-authorize, okay, operation, okay? But it's true that it's a lot of work and it imposes a number of procedures, people, costs into your organization. Okay, now let's see the specific category the specific category from the point of view of the manufacturer. Okay, I'm Airbus or I am Boeing. Okay, so what I need to do to sell a UAV, aerial robot, in these categories. So for the open category and the standard scenarios, the two standard scenarios, you need to have a CE mark drone. If you don't have a CE mark drone, you will not be able to. People are not going to buy for the open category and the standard scenario. For the operational authorization part, okay, if your aircraft is for sale 1, 2, and 3, this you will need to the declaration of compliance with a number of requirements, okay, technical loss requirements. This is something very, very new, okay, say 1 month ago, and there's not much information available yet, but this declaration will be submitted to the national aviation authorities, okay, with a full package of evidence. But this is done by the manufacturer, not by the operator, okay? So when the operator submits operation authorization for sale 1, 2, and 3, the operator needs to put, along with the other documentation, this declaration of compliance from the manufacturer. For sale 4, which is even more risk, you need to pass a design verification report process. This is a process with EASA, not with the National Aviation Authority. Now it's with EASA, and confirms that the UAVs complies with some requirement called SCLUAS, and you can have more information there. And this is a very costly. It could take around 1 year. You know, it's like certifying, you know, certifying an aircraft, but it's some kind of certification. And it could be several hundred, a few million euros, just the effort to do it. So just to take you an idea, okay? This is my personal opinion, but it will be around that. And then for sale 5 and 6, you will need the use of a type certificate, US. So type certificate is like the certification that gets the manned aircraft. So you will need to do it as with the manned aircraft. And this is a very, very complex and costly process and could take around 3 years and millions of euros, just to give you an idea, okay? With the look, you have the same options depending on the sale level as with the operation authorization. So this is the point of view of if you are a manufacturer. And before we explain the point of view of the operator. Okay, in the with this web page of EASA, you can see the currently, I don't know how it is, how well is updated, but this is the number of companies that they have CE marked their drones, and you can see the categories here. Okay, C0, C1, C2, C3, C6. Okay, here is the link in the PowerPoint, and here are the list of DVR, Design Verification Report, issued by EASA for sale 4. Okay, the declaration I told you for sale 1, 2, and 3 is very new, and there's no list. And so far, only a system has been passed this process, not complete system. Okay, not complete UAVs. This is a complex thing. Okay. Then for autonomous operations, just to mention that for autonomous operations, the specific category is the only one where fully autonomous operations with a supervised pilot is allowed, only possible on the operation authorization option. The details how different levels of automation can be considered in the SORA risk assessment that we mentioned are not fully defined by authorities. However, JARUS, which is a worldwide association of aviation authorities, they published this year a draft version of the methodology for evaluation of autonomous or US operation that you can, here is the link, and you can see the document. And here they define the levels of automation for UAS operation, they describe some function and safety dependence, and also impact of the automation, how this impact the SORA risk analysis, because there is an impact. This work is still under development, so it will require still some time until we have a clear idea how to obtain operation authorization for highly automatic autonomous operations, okay? But they have started to work on this. So as a summary for the specific category, it includes a large variety of operations. There are 3 options to fly. Operation declaration, only operation that fit into one of the 2 standard scenarios, okay? Here we require a CE mark UAV, C5 for standard scenario 1 and CC for standard scenario 2. For the operation authorization, only for SAIL 1, for risk level SAIL 1, 2, and 3 operations, okay? You can use it, okay? And in that case, the UAVs, they will require a declaration of compliance of the drone with respect to technical losses, okay? So the manufacturer has to pass all this evidence, has to collect it, and when the manufacturer sells a UAV, a drone aerial robot, it has to go with this declaration of compliance. And the last option is the LOC, the Live US Operator Certificate. This is optional for the standard scenario and for SAIL 1, 2, and 3, but it will be mandatory for SAIL 4, 5, and 6. And here, the UAV require the declaration of compliance of a DVR or a type certificate. This applies to aerial works and experimental flights. Okay, you say, okay, how am I going to certificate my UAV for experimental flight? That doesn't make sense. That's true. Usually what happens is that for experimental flight, they can be performed in dedicated test flight centers. Here there's a couple of pictures from a test center that we have at CATEC called Atlas, with a segregated space in a rural area. And this usually they have a set of mitigations, okay, that allows to fly complex operations, long distances, large aircraft, but with a lower risk, SAIL 1, SAIL 2, or SAIL 3 at most. So in the experimental flight, you don't fly in the middle of Madrid or the middle of Paris. You fly in this type of areas. So the risk of the operation is lower, so you can experiment without all the burden of the certification. And once you have consolidated your aircraft, then you would like to go to the market, you have to go to this some kind of certification qualification processes. To finalize the certified category, okay, for the certified category, this is the last part. What is in the certified category? It is not what is in the specific or in the open category. What is that? Okay, is operation over assembly of people with a UAV of more than 3 meters of dimension. Assembly of people. We're not talking about, I mean, an urban environment, a town. We're talking assembly of people. Okay, that's downtown Madrid probably is assembly of people. You know, at least during the daytime. Maybe at night not, but during the time. Or a parade, or a concert, or a beach in summer. These are assembly of people. So if the UAV has a characteristic dimension more than 3 meters, and you fly in these areas, this is a certified category. If you transport people, now that we are talking a lot about aerial taxis, something like that, even if you don't have a pilot, if you transport people, it's certified category automatically. It doesn't. Maybe it's a small drone, but it's difficult. But the site is, if you transport people, the risk is so high that you go to the certified category. If you transport dangerous goods, that in case of an accident, they can pose a high risk to third parties. For example, you are transporting some kind of explosive material, then it's again certified category. Okay, so these are the three main ways to know if your operation is in the certified category. This category requires a pilot, okay? This is the same regulation as the manned aviation, adapted to the fact that part of the system is not on board on the aircraft, okay? For example, the control station and also the crew, the pilot is not on board, so you need to adapt. But basically, it's the same kind of procedure that the regular commercial manned aviation. You need to certificate the operator, like Iberia, like France. You need to certification of awareness of the UAS as a A320, design, manufacturer, maintenance certification. You need official license for the remote pilot, which is not required in the open specific categories. In the open specific category, there is not a license, official license. There is a training, only a training for the pilots. In this category, just a few days ago, the 31st of August, EASA published an opinion, okay, which is a previous formal process to publish a EU regulation related to aviation, with respect to the certified category, the so-called eVTOLs, also manned, and also for innovative air mobility services. And you can have a link there. In the certified category, I think we are far away for the application of the aerial robotics to the certified category. We are talking about probably the next decade, after 2030. Just to give you also a glimpse, also EASA is working on the application of artificial intelligence, data-driven approaches for aviation application. And here you can have a link as well to the roadmap 2.0 they published this year as well, if you are interested in this aspect. Okay, fine, to conclude, okay, and we have so we have at least 5 minutes for questions. So far, we have just, I mean, I know this has been very dense, commented the requirements for the US UAV operator manufacturer without considering the specific aspects of the integration of the UAV into the airspace. And this is especially relevant for long distance operations when the pilot is able to directly operate the aerial robot with his own eyes. Okay. This is more my personal opinion. Okay. I can see 4 main options for BVLOS operations for the specific and certified category, because the open, you cannot fly long distance, it's only VLOS. The first option is to operate into segregated space. Actually, this is not real integration. Okay, you have a part of the airspace that is only for you, and then since there is nobody else there because it's segregated from other aircraft, nobody can fly there, then it's safe to fly long distance because nobody will be there. This happens usually in flight test centers, as I mentioned earlier. For non-segregated, we have the option to operate below 150 meters above ground, where there is very, very, very limited traffic. Okay, and there we have 2 main options for that. And that in non-controlled aerospace, okay, when we can make use of a qualified detect and avoid system with the coordination operational procedures, okay, and also we have the options to operate in US-based aerospace, okay, which also we can comment about it a little bit later, okay. And then on the other side, okay, we have the 1 second.
Where did Antonio go? Animal.
Yeah, no, he said 1 second. I prefer
1
not.
second. Yeah.
Well, the second is past, but anyway, we can wait some additional.
Okay, so sorry about this. So we have this option of operation US space, and we'll comment later. And then we also have the option to fly over 150 meters ground level, when it will be required to follow the visual instrument flight rules as all the other aircraft, manned aircraft with ATM or ATC. This is very difficult and costly, and okay, Aeronautica is working on that, especially for certain temporal species, and only usually more think about the certified category. And then just to comment about the options to fly below this 150 meters, in non-controlled airspace, we have to make use of a qualified detect and avoid system in order to detect other airplanes around. This is not yet available on the market, a qualified detect and avoid system. It can be on board the aircraft or using ground infrastructure. And actually, right now, EUROCAE, which is a European Aeronautical Association body, is working on defining this requirement for a qualified detect and avoid system for operation below these 150 meters. And then we have the options of US space that we commented at the very beginning, using the services of US space. And we apply another set of regulations, okay? US space term is only for Europe. A similar concept is developed right now in other parts of the world under UTM, in case you see it. Why US space? Well, the idea is to increase the automation and the digitalization of these traffic services, because in the future, expected there will be a lot of drones, especially in some urban areas. Okay, so this is the main motivation. What is US space? US space is a new type of airspace. It can be within control and uncontrolled airspace. The US space airspaces are designed by the National Aviation Authorities in their geography, and before that, they need to perform an airspace risk assessment. This is not a SORA. This is a different risk assessment, more complex, that they have to do, usually by their country. They also have to define what they call a CIS, a Common Information Service, which is unique and a trusted data exchange point between the ITM and the U.S.-based ecosystem. And once a U.S.-based space formally defined and a CIS is certifying operational, and also U.S.-based service provider, which are companies that they provide U.S.-based service, are also certified, they can start offering the service in the U.S.-based airspace. There are 4 mandatory services and 2 optional services. What are the advantages to operate in US space? Well, for the zone analysis, the air risk will be low. It will be most probably IRCP, which is low, which is good. This is a digital automated system, so US flights will be authorized fast and with easy to use interfaces. And in the future, it will facilitate the operation of UAS in airspaces with a high density of operation. Does the operation in US space airspace will impose further requirements? Yes. Although right now the only high-level requirements have been defined in this acceptance means of compliance and guidance material. You have the link here. Which is the current status of the implementation of the space? The regulation coming into force, so it's mandatory this year. There is not yet official US space in Europe, defined Europe. So it's not possible yet to use US space service officially in Europe. And it is expected that the first space and services will be launched, the end of this year or probably most probably next year. So we have, I know there was a lot of information. I know there was that you have the slides, the links, but we very briefly set the regulation related to the drones. We defined the different categories, the requirement for the open and specific category for the operator manufacturer. We introduce a little bit the autonomy part, the different options of the integration of the aerial robot into the space, and the US space introduction. I would like just to also comment that it was thanks partially supported by the piloting project. And you have here a link if you are interested. It's a Horizon 2020 project. And thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you, Antidio, for the presentation that I think that was very clear. But anyway, there is always a lot of information. I'm sure we will have some questions. So please, Patrick, you have raised your hand, or is my hand no? Anyone?
Yes, Imre.
Hello, Imre Paniti here from Staki, Hungary. Thank you for the very interesting presentation and for the summary, actually, which is really important for all of us who are working with drones or want to work with drones. My question is, are any regulations in sight in terms of indoor drones?
Aviation-related regulation, no.
No, you have to. No, the machinery typically indoor factories have regulation in terms of safety, but it's not related with the aviation. It's general.
Yeah. So I would say that you have to look probably to more machinery regulation and also talk with the safety personnel that take care of the safety of this place. But there's no aviation, they don't care about what is indoor. So there's no aviation-related regulation.
Thank you.
Sanders?
Yeah, okay. This question raised now, are there regulations for what is exactly indoor? Does it mean that there's a roof on top and there a flyaway is not possible? That kind of
cannot escape, essentially.
Yes, that cannot escape.
Yeah.
But for example, if you use a net, you have to be sure that the net is good enough so it's cannot escape.
Yeah, okay, that's clear. Yeah. I also have another question. Can you this use space is not completely clear for me. Can you can you explain a little bit the use of it, the main use in the future?
Okay. I mean, ideally, your space will facilitate the long range operations with the UAVs. Okay. but I don't have a clear idea how it's going to evolve, because you can only use these services, these USP services, in a defined USP airspace. It's a new type of airspace. Mainly, maybe they are just going to define USP airspaces in cities, you know. So depending on that, it will be more or less useful. But it's like the airplanes, they have ATM services, they support the navigation. So in a USP airspace, you will have services, digital service, that they will help you, they will support your operation. So you will be able to perform long range operation easier than outside of a USP airspace.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's clear. That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And also thank you for this this really nice and broad presentation of you. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other question? Okay, I think we can close up, Aníbal, if you want.
Yeah, it's 5 p.m., so it's okay. So I think that the number of attendants was not, let's say, not high, but I think that the topic was interesting and relevant. So we can try to put this also in the web. But please consider that we are working on this. In some cases, we can provide some advice. So I think that particularly CATEC can provide some advice related to application and how to proceed with some particular applications, which is finally the practical case. So you have some doubts and you would like to go for one particular use case. So possibly CATEC can help you in these activities. So this is first, general, so particular, dealing with this regulation. Second, because I'm sure if you think in all these topics in the information, you will raise a lot of questions, I'm sure. So for your particular use case, so I'm sure. So if you have this, okay, CATEC is open for this activity, first. Second is I would like also to generalize for the working. So, well, first, Imre, do you have another question? Somebody with questions?
Only a comment.
Yeah.
I saw the Eventbrite link that was only available in Belgian language. So that might be a problem for the case that we have a low participant number.
Yeah, yes, we realized that there was some problem, but fortunately we cannot do anything. We will anyway send the link to the recording and the slides to all the registered people. There were more than 35 people registered.
Yeah, so Imre, there were 35 people who registered. I think only what I saw now is the whole text was in English, so it was more like the headlines as subjects, etc., were in Belgium. So we have to look into that if we can change anything in the setting. But in general, the whole text was in English. So hopefully,
I could read, but the registration process, the Eventbrite, the portal was in Belgian language, and that might be a problem.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We will take it into account.
Flemish. Okay. So thank you. Again, we can offer discussions in the next topic group workshops. So I can invite you also to interact, to see what are you interested to next workshops and how we can manage in the next workshops let's say the interest of the people. Because right now we are thinking about what we are going to propose for the next European Robotic Forum. So we need to interact. So we are open to interaction. And thank you very much again for your attendance. And then to, let's say, to attend, even if you have problems to connect. So thanks, double thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.